honey.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
I'm good.
I know you had kind of a traumatic day.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. My dog Pixie was not feeling very good for a couple of days.
I think she wants a little cameo really quick.
Yeah, if I
because
can
I know
move
she's
her.
right there.
Here. Look at her.
Hi,
There
baby.
she is. She's like glued to me now because she had to go to the vet, so she's traumatized. But she wasn't feeling good, and it wasn't like a sickness, like a virus. It seemed like it was like her body was bothering her. So we gave it a couple days just to see if it would kind of work itself out. But she did perk up a lot today, but we took her to the vet anyway, just to be sure. And they said it looks like she just tweaked something in her neck. So hopefully that's going to be the end of it. But we got some medicine for her, and she's running around and being happy and crazy again. So it's good to have her back the way she always is.
Yeah, that's the worst kind of pain though, especially well, I've heard something before about how like being a veterinarian is like in some ways harder than a doctor because with a doctor, like you learn one body. And I'm not saying being a doctor isn't hard. Like I could never, it's insane. But you learn the human body and people can usually communicate with you like what hurts and what's wrong. Whereas as a vet, like you have to learn all of these different animal breeds and it's a whole different thing of like trying to figure out what's wrong with them because they can't just necessarily tell you like my head hurts or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was the issue with her, was that it just seemed like something was wrong, but we couldn't tell what it was. Like she wasn't limping or anything, but every now and then you would touch her and she would like wince or yelp at you. So anyway, yes, I completely agree. And I thought the exact same thing. And I think like being there's probably a different word, but like a pediatrician, but like babies.
Yeah.
Like you bring them in because they're not acting normal, but it's like, I don't know what the actual issue is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it would be really hard to try to do medicine on anybody that can't communicate with you.
Yeah, I feel like it's a completely different job or thing than working with people who can vocalize like this specifically hurts, this doesn't, this is how long this has been going on, whatever. But so thank you to all of our medical professionals. I literally could never do anything like that. I wanted to be a vet when I was little, and then it's like, oh, that's like actually a lot of work.
Yeah, I wanted to be a surgeon at one point. I think I wanted to be a vet just in the way that like everybody kind of has a vet
every
phase.
Kid does. Yeah.
But I think that I from a young age was like, no, I want to pet dogs all day, but I don't want to like give them shots or be like the thing that they're scared of. Because I also know that like certain professions that are really prestigious have like really high rates of mental illness and suicide, because like it's almost like a traumatizing thing when people have to go see you. And so I know like vets
just inflicting pain on people all the time.
Yeah, like vets and dentists, I think, are the two that I remember where people
I've heard of dentists before. Yeah,
where people like kind of hate you.
Right.
Even though you're doing good, like people are just they just don't want to see you. So I'm sure that's really hard on like many levels. Like obviously the study and the memorization of everything is complex, but I'm sure
there's
it's a whole
bedside
job.
manner stuff is a completely different thing too.
Yeah.
So, well, today I wanted to talk to you about something that I feel like we actually talk about a lot when it's just us talking and hanging out as young women. I don't know, living, housing stuff. Maybe this is normal, maybe this isn't. I just feel like we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like just kind of, I don't know, our homes, our living spaces that we've had with people, or what it's like living with our partners, all kinds of that stuff. I feel like we talk about all the time. So I wanted to talk with you about that a little bit today.
Yeah.
But first I was wondering, what was your living situation like growing up in terms of like physically your house, as well as like the energy of your home and like your parents in your home? Like who was in your house growing up and what was that like?
Yeah, we moved around a lot because I was a military child. So we moved around a lot when I was relatively young, and then I think late elementary school is when we like got to Kansas and kind of stopped moving. But I've lived in everything from, like, as a kid, I lived in everything from apartments to townhouses, and then like a small like ranch style, just 2-bedroom house, probably smaller than the house that I live in now. And
Oh,
then
really?
yeah. And then I think we had a garage though, which I feel like makes a big difference, but there's definitely less living space in that house. And then the big we call it the big house that like my parents actually purchased. All the other stuff was like rented. And then they bought a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2.5, I don't know, like 3 bathrooms house in the like greater Kansas City area, so in like the suburbs of the city. But we were not like super well off when I was younger, so I know that like from a young age I kind of had a grasp on like be grateful for what we do have, and not so much like yearning for a bigger house or whatever. We very much had the vibe of like I don't know how to put it, like the love in the house is more important than the furniture or like the space or whatever. Which like on some level was good, but of course there are different stressors that come with that.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of the vibe that we had. Is that what you mean by vibe?
Yeah, just like because I know for me, like well, my parents are divorced now, but when I was like little, not like little, but when I was in elementary school, we had a nice, very stereotypical house. Like we had 2 extra bedrooms after me and my sister shared a room because we wanted to. Like we had 4 bedrooms upstairs, but we just shared a room. Like we were we had a really nice backyard.
I hate that. I
Play
don't know
set.
why, but I hate that you guys shared a room
I
just because you
understand
wanted
that.
to.
Yeah, I don't know. We were just little and we wanted to, so we had like extra rooms. And then when my parents got divorced with like some financial stuff, so then we went from that to like both my parents for a little bit lived with their mother. So like I lived with my grandmas. So that was like very different, obviously, from going, like I would say I definitely didn't realize how not like well off in terms of being like wealthy, but like my family had like I think more money than, I don't know, upper middle class for sure. So that was like I didn't even really realize that more until we like had everything happen where we moved, and I was like, oh, we were like above what most people have. I don't know, but energetically, regardless of where we lived, I always felt like my parents were very respectful of like my space. Like I always felt like my room was private. I don't know. I never have felt like there was, when I was at home, I was like I had no privacy and I had no, hi Pixie. And that was always very important to me. And I think that's why now I am the way I am in some ways. But I don't know. I just never felt like I was being watched all the time, or like everything I was doing was being criticized of like, oh, that's the other thing. My parents were never weird about like, you have to have your room spotless, like you have to, all that cleaning kind of stuff. Like I don't know, I just feel like I was, and my parents did that in a lot of ways, but overall I was just kind of treated like a person.
Sure. Yeah.
Even as a kid, rather than, I don't know, treated like you only exist to listen to me and have your room clean and you have no privacy as long as you're under my roof, like that kind of stuff. So I feel very grateful for that, because I think that was very impactful on developing years. But I mean, in that sense, like, did you feel like you had a lot of pressure in your house to be contributing to things or being watched or anything like that?
Yeah, my situation was probably different. I mean, the most obvious thing that comes to mind is that I didn't have any siblings.
Yes, that's a big thing too. I have one older sister.
Yeah, so like on some level, I had probably more pressure, just like you're the only offspring, like you have to, whatever.
Right.
So there's more pressure in that sense, but and I just mean than average. I don't mean like you specifically, but as far as like privacy goes, my parents were, I think they gave me more privacy than average.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of an interesting setup. My parents are extremely non-traditional.
They're very young too.
Yes,
At least very like much younger than my parents.
Yeah, probably younger than average, but
yeah.
They my mom had me when she was about 19. So that's where we're looking. Like right now they're like 40 something, 42 or something.
And my parents are in their like mid 50s. So
yeah. And then so growing up, my parents were like 30.
Right.
Like that's kind of the average age that I remember them being, is like 30 to 35. So they were kind of still getting their own shit together. Like they weren't super concerned with me. And they were really hard on me when I was a kid. And then as I got older, they were much less hard on me. And so like you were talking about in terms of like keeping your room clean, my parents really, really cared when I was young. And I specifically remember it at the small house that we rented. I had like built-in shelves in my room, and my parents, I never kept them clean. And my parents were like so annoyed by that, specifically my dad, which I think could have been like a military thing more than just like a personal preference. But I remember him like every now and then he would just get fed up and he would come in and be like, he'd like bring a trash bag and he'd be like, we're filling this. Like if it's stuffed animals or it's toys, like you can't keep your room clean. So we're getting rid of some of the stuff in your room. Like that's just how it's going to be, which now I'm kind of psycho about getting rid of stuff. So
yeah,
maybe that had a weird impact, but
yeah, maybe.
I actually go through phases. So maybe it had exactly the impact that you would expect. And
like sporadic, like I have to get rid of everything.
Yeah, where I like keep little like trinkets and stuff just because I'm like, I like this and now I'm an adult and I can have it.
Right.
And then yeah, once every like 6 months, I'll be like, I don't need anything in my closet. Like let's just
get rid of half my stuff.
Let's just get rid of
today. Yeah. I
do that too. Particular reason. Yeah. But so I was kind of more closely monitored in that sense that like there was just one kid to have a messy room. And so then all of the spotlight was on me in my messy room. But then as I got older, I mean, I kept my room more clean because I didn't have just like toys and stuff. Like when you're, I don't know, 7, you have a lot more toys than when you're 17. But as I got older, I was kind of naturally a little bit more clean, but I also just, they didn't care as much. Like they weren't in my space as often. But I had probably more privacy than average, but like my parents did not let me put a lock on my door. So I had a door with like a knob that could not be locked. And that was like
intentionally
inside or out.
Or just like there wasn't. Okay.
No, intentionally. That was shortly after they bought the house. I think I was probably in middle school. And we all went to the hardware store together because we were like redoing, like repainting and whatever. And we bought all of the new doorknobs for the house. And so they had counted all of them. And they specifically said, like, wait, the spare room and your bedroom don't get the same doorknob. Like, no, we miscounted. And I was like, I get a doorknob. Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, no, yeah, of course you get a doorknob, but like, you don't get one that locks. Like the spare room is going to have one that locks. So that was kind of odd. But then if my door was ever shut, then they wouldn't just barge in.
Right.
But they kind of just left me alone. So I didn't have a lot of need for like ensuring that I had privacy. Like if I don't know, if I was showering or if I had just showered, like they weren't going to barge into my bedroom, and they didn't like monitor my, computer search history. They didn't read my texts. They never did anything like that. So I just had and they never like snooped around my car once I got older. they were very much, their whole motto growing up, which I think actually is kind of great, was that I had their trust until I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of a default that like, you get privacy. If you want to close your door, then like, we'll leave you alone.
Right.
And that's fine. But then it was also expected of me that if their door was closed, I was to leave them alone.
Sure.
And like, for various reasons, they were young people,
Sure.
but also just, you know, if they're having an adult conversation and they just don't want me to be around for it, if the door is closed, like, don't, unless you seriously need something, like, it just kind of means leave us alone. So
I love that dynamic of everyone in the family be respectful to each other rather than,
yeah,
you're the kid, you're little, do what we say. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, even like my parents usually were in the same room, like they were just always hanging out together. But if they were in separate rooms, like they were pretty respectful of each other's space.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like stuff like that. Privacy was not really an issue. I also did not really feel like I was being watched, but I think that I made an effort to be around my parents in situations that I wanted to. And then it didn't seem like as big of a deal when I wanted to be alone.
Sure.
And so like now I'm pretty good at cooking, and that comes from, I was always in the kitchen when my mom was cooking,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a very comfortable place to be. That was like a very comfortable, easy time for me and my mom to talk, like whatever. And then a lot of times we ate dinner together in front of a TV. And then after that, it didn't seem weird that I wanted to just go hole up in my room.
Exactly.
You know, they just kind of left me alone because they were like, well, you know, we got to chat with her,
She's
whatever.
been with us for a few hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of privacy, and I was kind of, I had a spotlight, but I wouldn't say that I was monitored.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. My family was kind of the same way. And I never, even through middle school, high school, everything, my family was not ever like, family dinner every time on these days, you have to be there, you have to do game night with us, you have to like spend time with your family and watch this stuff with us. It was so much more optional.
Yeah.
Which I spent a lot of time with my family because it was a thing where I had the choice to, and it was like, I'm in the mood to socialize, so
yeah,
I would do that rather than being forced to and then just being resentful of like, I don't want to be here right now. Like,
right.
Even this past weekend, me and my dad were going to go to lunch together, and then I had called him and I was like, I'm really just not like, I just don't feel like going. Like, I'm not in a social mood. I'm not like, I love you and I want to be around you when I have the energy and I feel like it. So like, let's reschedule. And he was like, oh yeah, of course. Thanks for telling me. Like,
yeah,
that's the dynamic that I don't know, taught, is it's comfortable to be like, it's not you. I just don't want to talk to anybody right now. And no one takes it personally.
Yeah.
Which I love. I'm one of the most introverted. I don't know. I feel like I don't maybe seem like it all the time, but I'm a very introverted person. So when you talk about the need to like recharge or have your own space to flourish spending time with other people, I am like the epitome of that. So
yeah, my mom is probably the most introverted out of the three of us, but my house felt like it was full of extroverts.
Really?
Yeah. And so that honestly wasn't something that I like learned very much about until I got out of my house, my parents' house, because like socializing comes pretty naturally to me. And so I guess the term for it is ambivert, but I don't know.
I've never even heard that.
At some point, I don't like being put in boxes, so I just resist this kind of stuff anyway. But
sure.
Like generally, I guess I would consider myself an extrovert, but I definitely do get irritable if I'm around people for too long, which I know
I think we're both like that. We're both pretty sensitive to who we're around.
Yes. But I do kind of have that on switch that I think is easy. And I know Thomas is maybe a little bit more introverted than I am, and that does not come very easily to him. And so like, yeah, he can turn it on and be social, but I will fill up a room for hours. And then depending on who I'm with, like if we were Thomas and I were driving home from Kansas City, I would be fine to chat with him the whole way home too. even after being around, my extended family for Thanksgiving or something. But anyway, there was an expectation of socializing in my house.
Okay.
But it was not forced. It was just an expectation, which is how a lot of things were in my house. Like grades.
Unspoken kind of.
Grades were kind of another thing where it was like, we're not going to check your grades, but like, if something starts going wrong, like, why?
We're not going to schedule time to hang out, but if we haven't seen you in a few days, then we're going to be like, what are you?
Yeah. And like, one of the things, we played board games a fair amount, but one of the things that I remember doing all the time was playing Rock Band on the Xbox with my whole family.
Love it.
And that was one of those things where it was like, I would be in my room and they would just yell up to me and be like, hey, we're playing Rock Band, like, get down here. And like, I could have said no.
Yeah.
But that would have been really weird. Like, not bad or wrong necessarily, but they would have just been like, what? Why?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting that that's not something that I really like considered as, I don't know, not like considered as a real thing, but just not something that I had really been introduced to, of like the concept of like wanting to recharge.
Or the concept of like, maybe this doesn't sound right talking about your literal parents when you're a kid, but just kind of the concept of like, you don't owe people your time.
Yeah.
To a certain sense of like, you don't have to spend your time doing things you're not wanting to do, which is like kind of mind blowing once you get older to realize that. But
yeah.
But I guess kind of moving on, let's talk about college living situations.
Okay.
So this is like a whole other thing. And we met sophomore year of college or junior year? Sophomore. Yeah, I know I don't know. I don't even know how long we've been friends.
We may have crossed paths freshman year, but I think
probably
we were friends by sophomore.
Probably, because both of our fiancés lived on the same floor in their dorm, but you weren't going to the college we were at yet, so it was kind of different. But so this is kind of a thing that, when, not to bring up this book every day of my life, but in Untamed by Glennon Doyle, it's a lot about just listening to yourself, and no one has done your life before. Like, it doesn't make sense to ask other people for directions to places that they've never been. Like, you know your life better than anyone else. So stick to what you know.
Yeah.
And this is a thing where I felt so strongly about this at the time without knowing it, like before I became more aware of that stuff consciously rather than just like feeling it. But now I would completely stick to it. But what I'm saying is, I was very confident about the fact that I am such an introverted person, and I'm so big on, sidebar, because I'm all over the place all the time. I am one of those cozy, I have a fuzzy blanket right now, dimly lit salt lamps, no overhead lights, quiet. I want to be in control of when there's noise and when there's not, which this can be a problem in my relationship sometimes. I just love to be in a peaceful, calm environment with some low playing music. Like, I thrive in that because I'm just in my head all the time. So things that take me out of my head, I almost feel like I don't know. I thrive off of that environment.
Yeah.
And I need it. And so I was very adamant about going into college with thinking about, roommates, and I was going to live in the dorms. I was like, is there any dorm that you can have a room to yourself? Like, is there an option that I can live in the dorms and get the socialization of like having people on my floor and doing events like that and classes, but I can have a room that I go home to?
Yeah.
And I'm by myself, because it's one thing to have roommates in an apartment or something, but sharing a dorm room with someone,
your
sleep, like, it's a whole different level of having no privacy. And everyone was kind of just like, what? No, like, that's not a thing. You're crazy. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm crazy. I'm stupid. And so I like did the normal thing and got a roommate and all that. And it was, without going into too much detail, it was awful. Freshman year of college was like one of the worst years of my life. And yeah, it was just a sense too where we had our room and then we shared a bathroom with two people on the other side.
Yeah.
And they all kind of became like really close and were very just like had people over a lot and had like guys and frats over and partied a lot. Like they were just very different than I was, not saying like good or bad, just we were very different.
Yeah.
And they all got along really well and became like best friends. And I just did not vibe with it.
Yeah.
And it's just hard because there's no getting away from it. There's no like, this is shitty. I want to go home and like have some time to like, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know, it was really hard. And it's one of those things where I almost want to use the word like kind of traumatizing, which sounds so dramatic in some senses, but when you consider how important some people's environments are to them, like that is really fucking hard to not have any kind of like I was going home like every weekend and I was spending a lot of time in Ethan, my fiance's dorm room at the time because I just like didn't want to be in my own space. And it was just bad. Like overall, it was just bad. And it was one of those things where I was like, I knew that I didn't want this and this wouldn't work for me. And I know this is one of those things that, and obviously it could have been better if I maybe had a different roommate situation and had people I got along with better. But even then, I probably still would have ended up not liking people because when you live together, like, I don't know. It was just one of those things where I felt so like, this is not going to work for me. I know this is the normal thing for everyone else, but like, it's not going to work for me. But then I caved and I was like, whatever, I'll do whatever everyone else does. And then I was like, oh yeah, like I was right. Like I knew this, I know myself. I know this wasn't going to be the best option. And like, I was right. This sucks. And it was just kind of awful. And yeah, it was just really bad. So that was my freshman year experience. So let's talk about your freshman year and then we'll talk about later in college. But yeah, basically the dorms were awful and I knew it wasn't right for me, but I didn't do it anyways. And then I just every day of my life was like, why the fuck did I not listen to myself? Yeah, that was my experience freshman year in the dorms of college.
I had a better experience, but I also
but still not great, right?
No, I also did not have a great experience. Also without going into too much detail. My roommate and I were randomly assigned and we actually got along pretty well, especially in the beginning. We weren't super different. Like we had kind of the same level of interest in like partying versus just staying home and stuff like that. So we were a little bit more on the same page about just like how to live together.
I wish I would have been your third roommate.
See, but then we would have hated each other.
That's true. Then we wouldn't be friends right now.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we've never lived together.
Yes.
We never will.
Yes. Until we're married.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I also lived in the suite style dorm where it was 2 rooms that share a bathroom. And I also struggled with that where my 3 roommates ended up becoming friends. And I don't think that my actual like shared a room roommate, I don't think that she was super close with the other 2. But she was definitely closer than me. And so I definitely felt isolated. And I think that it just built up.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
That's a great word of like, I felt the same way, isolated.
Yeah. Which is frustrating when you're surrounded by people in the same
and you're a young girl
room.
And it's college and all you're hearing is that you're supposed to be making all these friends and being so happy and
right. Yeah. And the first semester we actually had a roommate that did not pan out very well. It was a very weird situation, but she didn't like any of us and it ended up making us not really like her. So she my dog just like shit her pants. Not literally, it stinks in here. She's stinky. I couldn't even talk through it. It was so gross.
I thought you meant like she literally just shit on the floor. I was like, do you need to
No, she just
get up? Like
and she's just sleeping. She's still sleeping. I don't even know if she knows she did that.
What a queen.
Anyway, so we had, our like fourth roommate at first was somebody who just did not fit in very well. And the rest of us we got along. We just weren't besties or anything. And then a girl from my suite mate's sorority moved in to replace the other girl because she dropped a semester, the one that didn't like us anyway. So then she picked a new roommate, and they were really, really close already. So they were best friends. So then they stopped talking to us as much. And then me and my actual roommate we never stopped getting along. It just became a bad fit, really. But I also got to a point where, and so did my roommate, because I think that she was an only child as well, where we were getting to a point of like, are you going home this weekend? No? Okay, I am. Like, not even in a mean way, but we both lived like 30-ish minutes from the college. So it was just better if one of us could leave.
It's the type of part.
Yeah. And I worked weekends, or I worked. She was working at the time as well. And that was another thing, was like our work schedules were completely different. And so it was really frustrating for both of us. And like neither of us like were mad about it, but it was just frustrating because she worked at a bar.
And so she would be late. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I had like morning classes, and then I only worked until like 6.
Right.
And so it was frustrating that I was getting up super early, but then she was coming home super late. So it was just like a bad match, really.
Right.
And then we both had boyfriends, which was another point of contention.
Whole other thing. Yeah.
It didn't cause like blowout fights, but there was bickering about that, about having them staying over, which we both agreed at the beginning of the year. And I don't think that either of us ever tried to go back on it, but we both agreed that it was fine if they wanted to stay over. That was not an issue. But it did always make for an uncomfortable situation because there is literally no privacy.
Well, because you and your now fiance, but at the time boyfriend, didn't go to the same school.
Yeah.
So if he was there, it's like he didn't have anywhere else to stay.
Yeah.
Rather than like I didn't ever have my boyfriend at the time, now fiance, stay with us because he lived in the dorm, like in the other building.
Right.
So it wasn't as much of like a.
Yeah. And
it's like you had to have Thomas stay with you when he was there.
True. Yeah. And that was allowed and everything. Like I know in some places it's not, but that was fine at my school. But it just created an awkward thing, especially because me and her, you end up getting pretty close when you're in that situation. And so me and her, like, you would shower and come out like almost naked, like it's your room too. And so at some point you get over like the nudity issue. And so you'd come out in like just underwear, and then you'd walk over to your closet and like get a big t-shirt and some shorts or whatever. But then if a boyfriend was there, then you sort of like barely even wanted to shower because just the thought of them being there. And then you would like take really long showers, or your roommate would ask you like, can you take like a super long shower, or like, can you not come home for another hour or whatever? And that was always kind of a peeve for me. I don't know. It just, it is very frustrating to share that space. And
it's just like, why the fuck is that a thing?
That's what I was going to say. I
like,
don't know.
That's not a good situation for literally anyone. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why that's the thing. And that's why I was like, I was like, that's crazy. I don't want to do that. That's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And
I was optimistic, and really it was fine for me. I think anybody probably doesn't like their roommate as much by the end of the year. As far as it goes, like I had an okay time, but like even my fiance had some issues with his roommate, and they were friends. And then he had more friends right across the hall who like, they all went to high school together, and they were all friends for like years and years. And just living in that close of quarters with people is always going to make you find like the least savory things about them, just because you see how they really are to some extent.
Right.
Like, yeah, you only live there for what, 8 or 9 months, and you have roommates and you never really get quite settled in, but like, you start to see like, this is not the person that just used to come over to my house and play video games or whatever.
Sure.
Like, you start to see that they're actually fucking gross, or they're actually really fucking annoying. Yeah. And so I think that that's hard to like throw essentially children, to throw 18-year-olds into this situation where they're sharing space and they have literally no choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think at my college, it wasn't mandated that you lived on campus, but it was highly recommended, I think. But my parents are also divorced now, but my parents were like actively getting a divorce when I went to college. And so they were like selling our house and stuff. So that was the main reason that I was in the dorm, because if it had been an option, I may not have been.
Because you were so close.
Yeah, it would have still
from
been,
like just a financial standpoint.
Yeah,
like,
it would have been a drive, but I mean, I guess rent is what you would call it, like the board, the room, whatever, room and board at a college is so expensive that the gas money would have been worth it just to drive there every day. So
whereas where I went freshman year was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, wasn't it
from
required
my family's house? So I think so.
To live on campus?
I mean, it was, but then like I had met some people that didn't live in the dorms their freshman year. So I don't, I mean, I think it's like required, but it's like not enforced to the point where they're like, you're literally kicked out because we found out, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you can like get an exemption or something.
I'm sure, I don't think they can literally say if you don't live in a dorm, you cannot go to the school.
I have no idea.
Maybe they,
since it's
I don't know.
I mean, it's a public university. I would think they probably can't tell you that.
Yeah.
If it was private, maybe, but
it was definitely the norm to live in the dorms.
Yeah.
Like everyone did.
Yeah.
But well, speaking of college living situations, roommates, this is something we differ on. And well, we both are, after freshman year of living with roommates, you transferred to the same school that I was at.
Yeah.
And that's when we met, and both of us moved in with our now fiancés, at the time boyfriends. That's kind of a flex that we're both with the same people and getting married to them now.
I know.
But we both moved in with them. So I moved in with Ethan, and we lived just the two of us. We never had roommates or anything, whereas you had a different experience. So what was that like? I've never had roommates other than freshman year of college.
Yeah. It was rough. And
you had a few different things. Like you were not in the same place the whole time.
No.
We were in the same apartment, just the two of us, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, and like another 6 months because Ethan did an extra semester. So we were in the same apartment, just the two of us, for like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Or 3 years or whatever.
Some of these people are still in our lives to some extent, so I do have to tread lightly, but my story is a cautionary tale about living with friends.
Yeah.
And I'm not on horrible terms with anybody, but I have lost contact or greatly, significantly reduced the amount of contact that I have with all of my roommates, actually. But our first apartment was 4 people in a 3-bedroom, and it ended up being 5 people, and then it went back to 4. So the original thing was Thomas and his 2 friends had planned to live together. And then when I was fully decided I was going to transfer, I really wanted to move in with him. But then he had already had this living arrangement. So then it was decided that I would just move in with them as well. So, and then one of them got a girlfriend who was in the apartment a lot, to where I felt that she was mostly living there. And then there was a lot of drama, but he had a couple of girlfriends who basically ended up living in there. And then our other roommate ended up going to some military training or something. I don't remember what exactly he was going for, but he ended up not being there. And I think he took a semester off of college.
I don't think I even know that. I know who you're talking about, but I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. And because I don't remember the situation perfectly, but I know it was for like military. I think he was in the Marine Reserves, I think. But I think that you have to do like a 3-month kind of like basic
training thing.
Yeah. And then there may have been additional like weekends or a couple weeks at a time. So I think that either way, I think he took a semester off of college to get that done. And so he wasn't living there. And there was talk of getting a subleaser, but we never ended up doing that. So I can't speak to that experience, but it put a lot of strain on the relationship that Thomas had with the other friend. Well, with both, actually. One of them, come to find out, we actually don't get along real well. And frankly, I don't like you very much. And then the other one, it sort of became awkward and strained, and you try to make the best of it. But, now I'm sure that if they talked and just hung out, they would have a great time. But
I think also like they're boys. So,
well, yeah, but there was kind of a cooling off period, I think, where it was like, I don't know, like this sucks and we're not getting along very well. So let's just not talk very much. And then so that was my sophomore year. And
yeah, and we didn't know each other at all at that time.
No.
Really?
Well, I knew Ethan, definitely.
Well, and but I'm confused because we weren't really friends, but I helped you move out of that apartment.
I think we were friends by then.
Were we?
We definitely knew
we weren't friends to the point where I had ever been to your place and hung out, because that was the first time I'd been to your apartment.
That doesn't surprise me.
Do you know what I mean? So we weren't like that good of friends.
No, I think that maybe
it was more that our boyfriends at the time were friends.
Yes.
So that's why we were.
But I think that I ended up, this is a personal issue, but I was kind of a crazy person my freshman and sophomore year.
Oh, I'm a crazy person now. So,
and so I was that girl that like didn't want him to go to parties unless I was there.
Yes, there is some historical beef between Ally and my fiance. Not now, at least. I don't think so. But no. Yeah, it was a weird start of our 4-person friendship or whatever.
Yes. And yeah, it was stupid. But anyway, so I think that I just knew Ethan, and then I knew of you. And so looking back, I'm just like, yeah, we must have been friends. But yeah, maybe we really weren't. Anyway, that was most of my sophomore year. And then my junior year, we lived with some pretty good friends. Mm-hmm. Some people that I had been friends with since freshman year, because.
And this is the year me and you became like best friends.
Yeah.
At least in my head. That's when we became best friends.
I mean, I don't even know that we're best friends.
You're
now.
like, you consider me
no.
But this is the apartment that I have many, many memories of hanging out with you at.
Yeah.
I didn't know you at your place before this, really.
Yeah. So we I had met.
So you moved out of that one because you were like, Thomas, like, I'm not living with these people anymore, basically.
Yeah. And they had somebody else who wanted to move in anyway. And it was one of their girlfriends, and they were prepared to just move into the same bedroom, but they were like, like their relationship hadn't been going on as long as ours. And so they were like, we wouldn't mind having separate spaces. So like, I don't know. We were like, well, if you guys want the room and we kind of want to move out. So like, yeah, we'll just move out. You guys
this
take
is
the extra
fine.
room.
Bye.
Yeah, like it works. So, but yeah. So then the next year we were 4 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. Mm-hmm.
And your apartment wasn't very big.
No.
Like in the sense of like there's some that have like big kitchens or like big living rooms or even like little other spaces, but like your guys' apartment, and not like in a way of like it wasn't even big, but like for 4 people living there, it was a lot.
Yeah. And so we had a modestly sized living room, and I mean a kitchen bigger than the kitchen I have now, but it's not huge by any means. Yeah, for 4 people it was tough. And
even for 2, it kind of would have been a little like you're here all the time, like
yes. I think that's just
but
the
I'm
trouble.
also I'm so sensitive to being like your literal energy and existence is stressing me out even when we're not talking, like because I'm
that's
psycho.
just the trouble with roommates at all. But when we were getting along really well, it was fine because we would all sit together and watch movies or whatever. And that kind of slowly started to fade. Not anything super dramatic. There was sort of a falling out, but I don't know. It didn't have to be the way that it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But
I mean, I know. Like
yeah. But
anyways.
Yeah, anyway. It ended up getting pretty sour. Which sucks because that was, I mean, a pretty long
no one wants that.
A long running, like meaningful friendship.
Absolutely.
And the trouble was that I was friends with the girl in this relationship and Thomas was friends with the guy in this relationship. And because we lived with another couple, I don't know that might be obvious, but I don't know that I clarified that.
And there's 2 bedrooms, 4 people.
Yeah, well,
that's why
bunk
it was
beds.
small.
Yeah. So it was hard because Thomas didn't have any beef with the guy. And so I was like, I want to get out of this situation. Like, I don't like it here. I'm not comfortable here. And then Thomas was like, well, like everything's kind of fine. Like, like they still hung out a couple times after. They would still hang out now. I think they just like, there's no hard feelings. They just don't really anymore. But it's just one of those things where it's like really tough when you want to be on the same side and the same page as your partner, but like I don't think that he believed I was in the wrong necessarily, but I don't think that he felt that it should have even been as big of an issue as it was. Hey, the dog is like chewing on her legs. So anyway, so then he still kind of wants to hang out with this guy, but knows that it's awkward. And then like neither one of them can talk about their girlfriends at the time because like they both know that they both want to remain neutral.
Something going on there. Yeah.
So it created a weird dynamic for the guys who really were not even involved in that whole situation, which was tough. But I mean, of course, at the end of the day, Thomas was going to like be on my side.
Whatever
over
you
this
need
friend.
to do.
So we ended up moving out before our lease actually ended, which I do not regret. It was an expensive choice, but it was worth it. Not like I hate these people so much. At this point, there's not even really hard feelings anymore. But
no, it just was like really put you in a much better space mentally.
Yes, because it got to a point where I didn't even want to leave our room. I didn't want to sit in the living room because then if they came out and even went into the kitchen, I was just like, I'm leaving. Like, I just did not want to be there. I was working more just to be out of the house, like staying late at my office where I could barely just felt kind of miserable. Do anything. Yeah. And I was over at your house a lot more. It was just not a good deal. So she like wants to be all cuddled with me and I can't get comfortable. So
her comfort's more important than yours. So
literally
adjust how you need to.
So, preferably don't adjust, just be still, suffer through. So anyway, we ended up moving out before our lease was over, and we found the house that we're in now. And
which is so adorable. I love it.
It's super cute. I'm so obsessed with it. I guess I would say that it's 3 bedrooms. Technically it's listed actually as only 1. Because
yeah, I get what you mean though.
Yeah, because there's
It's
not
spacious.
doors.
It's much more
Yeah.
spacious than what you would think of a 1-bedroom house.
Yeah. Well, because there's one like full proper bedroom with a bathroom. There's a second bathroom, a real kitchen, a real dining room, which I have not had since I moved out of my parents' house. I have not had an actual dining room area. And then
guest bathroom.
Yeah, and then living room, and then upstairs we have a small, it sounds huge, but it's a small upstairs, which is where my office is, which is where I am now. And it's cozy, but just for the two of us, it's fine for an office space. But I think it has something to do with points of egress or doors. And so they can't legally like call this a bedroom because there's not a safe way to exit the house.
I gotcha.
Like in a fire. I don't know. I think it's
more of like a loft area.
Yeah.
Almost, because it's like the stairs up and then it's kind of just like a big open space with like one wall between.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. So it feels I'm
like explaining to you like what your house looks like. You're like, yeah. I know.
Well, it's almost harder to explain because I live here. So I'm like, I don't know, it's got the room.
It is what it is. I don't know.
And then of course you can just barely see it, but it's like vaulted down ceilings. So it wouldn't make for a great bedroom, but it would work if you needed it to. Anyway, so we both have separate offices and we have a living room and a bedroom, which are far away from each other.
Yeah.
There are 2 bathrooms.
Opposite sides of the house.
Yes, 2 bathrooms with showers and toilets and sinks. We don't get ready in the same bathroom. We don't hang out in the same places. I mean, we sit and watch TV together a lot, but if I'm up here, he's totally somewhere else. And it is so much better. It is a dream.
Yeah.
I think roommates is the biggest problem, but I don't know that we can ever go back to a 1-bedroom.
Sure.
Because our need for separate spaces is like imperative at this point. Excuse me, which is something that I never would have expected of myself. But it's been a learning curve, obviously, but it is a game changer to have a space that you can go to and either be so far away that you feel separated, or like close a door and you are away from each other. Because that was the problem with our apartments, was we shared a bedroom, but you don't have any other space that's dedicated to
and then you shared a living room with 2 other people in addition to you.
Right. Yeah. And so I couldn't just go start cooking and guarantee that I would be alone for 30 minutes, because somebody else might come start cooking, or somebody might come sit we had like bar stools. Somebody might come sit at the bar and start chatting with me and whatever. Or if you just wanted to put some distance between each other, like if there's somebody watching a movie in the living room and like they have the lights off, like they're really into this movie that they're watching, like you don't want to just go out there and walk in front of the TV and be like, hey, can I watch this with you, man? And so it creates like just a very high tension environment, I think.
Yeah.
And I think
like I'm in your way or you're in my way.
Yes. And I think it is so helpful to have breathing room. That's what I've said since we got here, is just like, I feel like I can breathe. I have space to just exist, where I just have not had that before.
Yeah. And I know that. So our other apartment we were in was bigger than this one. It was definitely, this apartment is a lot nicer. Like this apartment is brand new and has like really nice like stainless steel appliances, and the bathroom is like really, like it's really nice, but it's smaller, because our last apartment was, it was pretty shitty. Like it was bigger, but it was like, we didn't even have a laundry unit. Like it was gross. Like it was kind of sucked. So it's kind of like completely different. And first the quality is just old and gross, it was bigger. And then now we have a really nice place, but it's smaller. Like it's just the one bedroom that I'm in. And we have a little laundry room that's nice. And we have a walk-in closet and a nice big bathroom. And then our kitchen is normal size, and then our living room, but that's it. So in terms of like spaces that you're going to sit and hang out in, it's just the bedroom, and then right like on the other side of that wall is the living room.
Wow.
So it's very like close. It's very like much a small space to exist in. And I really, most of the time, I really like it in terms of I don't ever want to live in a really big space. I like the coziness of like your house. I love size wise. Like I almost would like something a little bit smaller than your house, but like that cozy, like your house feels cozy.
Yeah.
And that's what I live for. Like I don't, but so it's sometimes it's hard. And I know that once we move, we just moved in here, so we're not planning on moving like really soon, but the next place we do live, I think will be the largest place we've ever lived in terms of like bigger than even our first apartment, just because like I want that feeling of like breathing.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that. And it can be a lot sometimes. And there's definitely, we're investing in like today, Ethan's going to order me this. Saw an ad on TikTok. It's like a headband that goes around your ears, and it's like noise canceling, and it like play like it's headphones to just because I'm so, this, I am so sensitive to sound and light and all this stuff to where it puts us both in a shitty position because Ethan is not like that.
Right.
Ethan is, and this is kind of a transition, and I know Thomas is the same way. I like to go to bed early. I like to wake up early and early-ish. I'm not like extreme, but I like to go to bed early. I like to have the apartment quiet. I like to have things peaceful. Ethan is the opposite. He likes to stay up and play video games, which it's right there. And if you don't have been living with a person or a boy that plays video games, like it's fucking loud sometimes, and there's yelling and there's upsetness. And it's a lot when I'm sitting right here and I'm deep into my like my book. I use my Kindle every day of my life reading, and then it's just like this yelling in the background of anger. Like it sometimes drives me crazy, but it's fine and it works. It's just like I'm excited to one day have where that's not the case, where there's such different space that you can't even really hear each other. So we have a lot of conversations about that and a lot of working on that kind of stuff, because Ethan is also the kind of person where he'll just, I get overstimulated really easily, and he's always understimulated. He cannot do anything without playing a video on his phone or like having the TV on. Like the one thing that happens probably like every other day is he will be at his computer or like sitting on the couch on his phone, like doing something unrelated, and have the TV on and have it on loud, and he's not watching it. And I can't deal with that. I don't understand. There's so many people who are like that. Like my whole family's like that. I don't understand why you'd have the TV on when you're not watching it. And like our TV is always on. I'm like, are you watching this? Like, can I turn this off? So that's a thing that I always am like, why are we having more sound and noise when we're not needing to? So we're very opposite in that kind of environment. Is he likes having a bunch of stuff going on, and I don't. So with that and with sleeping, like sometimes, well, as far as the morning getting up, Ethan just doesn't sleep very much. Like he goes to bed a lot later than me, but we get up at like the same time. So it's not really an issue of him like sleeping in, and I feel like I can't be loud in the morning, but it's more of like he goes to bed a lot later than me. And half the time he falls asleep on the couch in the living room, which honestly is fine, because then I wake up and I realize he's not there, and I just like spread out even more. With my dog, so it's not that big of a deal. But our sleep schedules are different. He goes to bed a lot later. Sometimes I would say we don't not like we don't argue about nothing, but like that's probably like one of the main things that we get, like have tiff like nagging at each other, is something to do with the fact that our living space is small. So I am so excited to have a backyard one day, have two like multiple stories of places. Yeah, and I know yours is kind of the situation. I know it's a lot easier with now that you're in a house and you guys have more space, but you still have some of the same stuff with sleeping, right?
Yes. Yeah. Our saving grace is that Thomas also plays video games. Our saving grace is that his office and the bedroom that I sleep in are the two furthest places. Yeah. And so our bedroom is on the very back of the house, and his office is upstairs and in the back of the upstairs area. So it is
couldn't be further from each other.
Yeah, as far away as possible, which that was an intentional choice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we have the same issues, and we've gotten to a place of understanding, just kind of like coexisting peacefully, which is nice because it hasn't always been that way. And my biggest issue when we lived in those other apartments was he would play video games, but we didn't have another space to do it in. So it was only our bedroom. So we would have a desk, or, well, we had a desk or a built-in desk, but either way, we had a desk with his monitor and his PlayStation or whatever. And the bed is always just right across the room.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to sleep, and I'm sensitive to sound when I'm trying to sleep. I'm not crazy sensitive to light, but in a dark room, when there is like these war games like flashing on the TV, and then the clicking sound of that controller like actually makes me like crazy, have a
physical reaction.
Yeah. But all that like click, 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 click. And it's just incessant. And then he would have the headphones on and would talk to people. And so he would sit there and be like, he's on top of us, on your left. Fuck, man, I can't believe it. And it'd be like, you would turn around in bed and look at him and be like, I'm trying to fucking sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like, dear. Which, that was tough. But now, yes, we still go to bed and get up at different times, but it's so much more peaceful because we've set very clear expectations with each other.
Yeah.
And we do have the luxury of him being able to exist later in the night in whatever other space that he wants to.
Yeah.
But to where it doesn't bother me and I can go to bed and it's perfectly fine. And he will come in really, really quietly, and he's so sweet. I don't sleep very well. I try to sleep, not like a ton, but I try to sleep, at least 8 hours, but I don't get very good sleep. And so I think that he's really, really sensitive to making sure that I get the best sleep that I possibly can, especially now that we have separate spaces and it's that much easier to try to ensure it. That usually one day per weekend, he will sleep on the couch just as an intentional choice, just because I sleep so much better when he's not there. Yeah. And because he snores super loud. I'm sure he would love that I'm talking about this. He snores really loud, and then he sleeps really heavy or really hard. And so he will like hit me or hit the dog and not realize it, and it doesn't wake him up at all. And he'll fling around in his sleep and he'll move.
That's more how I am, I'm told.
Yeah, I would believe that.
Yeah. And
so I just don't get very good sleep, which I never have. That's not new, but that does not help at all. Yeah. And so he snores so loud that he'll snore himself awake because it's so loud. And he had to buy a special alarm clock that's called like a sonic boom or something. And even that doesn't wake him up the first time every time. I cannot relate to. I wake up
to alarms always.
I am such a light sleeper that my alarm is a vibrate.
And you wake up?
Yeah, I do not have a sound pattern to my alarm. It is just a vibrate. It's, I don't know. He is so...
A different species.
Yes, we are just so different in like how we operate in that sense. But yes, we are very lucky that now, you know, he has helped me to understand like why he stays up later, or, you know, what I can do to be helpful at this time or that time. And then I have done the same with like, you know, it's fine if you want to go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I don't want you to sleep in until noon. So figure that out. Like, I don't really care when you get up, but like, I would like to have some time in the morning to hang out.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, it has gotten so much easier with the extra space.
Pixie. Well, that's the thing that's hard too, is it's kind of one of those things like you just have to accept it and try to compromise.
Yes.
And for us, just be patient until we're in a different situation, because that's the thing is like, I mean, the way I see it is neither of us are doing anything wrong at all.
Right. Yeah.
I am not wrong for wanting to have a peaceful, quiet home in the evening when I want it to be that. But Ethan is not wrong at all for living in an apartment that he pays for, he lives in, like all that, like wanting to stay up and play video games if that's what he wants to do. So that's just what makes it difficult, is like,
right,
no one's wrong. It's just, you just want different things and you can't have both of them. So that's like another thing is, you know, like there's not really that much to talk about with it. It's just like, well,
yeah,
I'll try to not be so sensitive to it, and like you'll try to not be so loud, but it's like not really, I don't know. So you do what you can, and we try to compromise, and Ethan's really good about especially like not as much on like Friday nights or Saturday nights. I'm way more like, it's fine if you're kind of loud or whatever, but like when I have work in the morning, which I mean he gets up for work early too, so that's not like, he's not up super late then, but basically I like to go to sleep early and I sleep a lot, and he likes to stay up and have hobbies that tend to be kind of loud. So it causes some annoyance with each other, but no one's doing anything wrong. And I try to make that clear too when I'm irritated, is like, you're not doing anything wrong by wanting to exist in your space. It's just not helpful for the way I want to exist in my space. But we got a Roku, and we have now, we're on our TV, you can plug headphones into the remote. So cool. When you're watching TV, like you can watch it with headphones in, and that has been like amazing. Yeah. Because he can stay up late and watch the TV as loud as he wants, and I can't hear it at all. It's more of just the video games are the only thing. Yeah. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to, I saw something about this on TikTok the other day, and I was like, it made me think of you right away. It's like there are two kinds of people: living room people and bedroom people. And I thought of us because you are 1,000% a living room person. Yes. I am a bedroom person. I remember we had this discussion one time because you were talking about, because you pretty much just use your bedroom to sleep and do whatever. Yeah. And I love to hang out in my bedroom. I love to hang out in bed. I love to get home from work, put comfortable clothes on, just snuggle with my dog in bed on my phone. Mm-hmm. I like to read laying in bed. Like I like existing in my bed. And you don't. And I remember one time specifically, we were talking about it, and I didn't realize that this is, and I don't think this is abnormal. It's just like the TikTok was saying, there's just some people do and some people don't. But I remember being like, wait, so you don't like, just like when you get home, you don't just like go and hang out in your bedroom and like hang out in your bed? And you were like, no. And I was like, what the fuck? So tell me about being a living room person. And I hang out in my living room. The living room is more of when Ethan and I are watching something together on TV, or, you know, whatever. I exist in my living room, but my bedroom feels like a sanctuary to me, of like a small, cozy, my bed. I'm a bedroom person. What is it like being a living room person, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, I will preface it with, I am a living room person by nature, but when I had no other choice,
Sure.
I am a whatever room is to myself person.
Okay.
So when we
You're
had
adaptable,
roommates,
but now that you have a house.
Yeah. Well, when we had roommates, I was not a living room person because they were in the living room, or I didn't know who was going to be in the living room, so I didn't even bother. But now that I, have a much more controlled environment, yes, 100% living room person. I literally am the type of person that I don't get in bed if I'm not tired. I try my best, in a very literal sense, that my mattress is reserved for sex and sleep. And
that's how Ethan is too.
Yeah, I do not, I don't even look at my phone if I can help it. Like, if I see a notification come through, I might look, but I am never scrolling on any social media. I am never watching videos.
You don't scroll through TikTok in bed on your Oh my God,
No,
that is crazy to me.
When I go into my bedroom at night, I go in there, brush my teeth, change my clothes, like do my skincare nighttime routine, set my alarms, turn on a podcast, plug in my phone, set it down, roll over. That is exactly what I do. And then when I get up in the morning, I turn off my alarm. I see if there's any urgent notifications that are like my mom is dying or something.
Sure.
And there never is. So I just glance through. There's nothing that needs my attention right now. Put my phone back down. I put on my watch, get up, go to the bathroom, do, brush my teeth, whatever. Come and get my phone, get the dog, and then I go out into the living room. I literally do not sit in my room at all.
And that's intentional? Or it's just like
it comes naturally, but it is an intentional choice to like not be on my phone in bed. But part of it is because I just sleep so poorly. And so I want to really heavily associate my bed,
like train your brain
with sleeping. And like, this is a place where you're calm and comfortable and like nothing, I don't know, like there's no disturbance in this space versus like, I can be in my living room and be on TikTok and I'm sitting there laughing, or that's like, if we're fighting, we're probably in the living room. And if we're playing with the dog, we're probably in the living room. And so all of that exciting stuff happens in this room, and all the like calm stuff happens in this other room, which I think is really helpful for me personally. But
it sounds like that's a good thing. Like, it sounds like I'm like, that's probably what everyone should be doing.
Yeah, if you have the space, but I feel like it's hard to say just like, and I don't know, like if you sleep fine, like Thomas is not this way at all, but he sleeps well. And so there's really no issue.
I can easily wake up, go take my dog on a walk, go do what I need to do, run errands, come back, get back in bed at like 11, take a nap for an hour, and then get up. Like, I can always take a nap at like literally any time, probably.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be like, okay, this is only, I just love being in bed. I just love having this fuzzy blanket and having like just my salt lamp on and a candle lit. Like, I just like being in a room that's kind of small and cozy, and like my bed is just comfortable. Like, I'm just a bedroom person. I could have probably a huge house and I'm just like, I want to hang out in my bed.
Yeah.
So 2 kinds of people, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought that was so fascinating. Like, I didn't know living room people. I mean, I knew they existed, but like, I just can't understand that.
Yeah. I think there's something in me that associates staying in bed all day with laziness.
Yeah.
Even if you're not sleeping.
Even if you're doing the same exact thing as laying on the couch.
You're being equally as productive. But yeah, there's something aside from it just being helpful mentally, like there is something that I have a negative connotation with. And it doesn't really bother me when other people do it.
You just don't feel good about yourself when you're laying in bed all day.
Stay in bed, But I'm also the person, I'm so annoying. I'm the person that wakes up and is like, good morning. Like, It's a wonderful day.
It's a beautiful, yeah, you're like singing, the birds are chirping.
Yes, I have like
you're Cinderella?
Smiling. I have like a Cinderella moment where like the birds dress me. Yeah. That's me.
The morning person.
Yes, I don't have this thing where I like hit snooze 10 times and dread getting up. I'm not particularly excited to go to bed. That's not something that I like experience.
All day I look forward to going to bed, literally.
I look forward
That's the best part of my day.
I look forward to like getting a blanket and snuggling on the couch, but like I don't see the appeal in like being unconscious.
That's exactly how Ethan is. Like Ethan doesn't like sleeping. He'll go to bed as late as he can. Oh, and this is another thing. We were talking about this earlier today. He was talking about how tired he was or something from like having a long week. And I was like, well, tomorrow's Saturday. Like you can rest and sleep all day and catch up on, like you're sleeping. And he was like, that's literally wasting my weekend. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, if I have time off, like I'm wasting it if I'm just sleeping and not doing anything. And I'm like, oh, I don't see it that way at all. I literally see it as, to me, a day off of sleeping and resting and being lazy is like, that's what you need during your time off. It's just interesting how he sees sleeping as like a waste of time. And I'm like, I'm just all about the lazy, cozy life. Like,
is Ethan a living room person?
Yes, absolutely. He's 1,000% a living room person. He'll use his phone when we're in bed. Like he'll watch YouTube with his headphones in when I'm sleeping, or like he'll scroll on TikTok and stuff. But no, he's watching TV in the living room, or he's out there sitting on his computer. Sometimes he'll hang out in the bedroom. Like if I'm in here and we're like he'll come in and talk to me and stuff. Yeah. But if I got home, like if he was home by himself doing whatever and I was doing whatever and I got home and he was like just laying in bed like on his phone or something, I'd be like, are you okay? Like that's so not, and it'd be abnormal for him to come home and me not be in the bed. So but it kind of works because as far as like needing personal time and space, like it's very like I'm gonna be there, you're gonna be there, we don't even have to talk about it. But yeah, I just think that's so interesting. Being a living room person who doesn't like to sleep, can't relate.
That's funny. That's interesting because I didn't consider that was a thing.
Yeah.
That there are bedroom people.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of us.
I just feel like
say it.
This is not to pass judgment, but I feel like grown-ups don't play in their bedroom,
You're probably, you're right.
Like kids play in their bedroom.
Sure.
Like
I also, without being too like deep or like emo about it, like I think there is a mental health aspect to it.
Probably,
like, people who are completely the most healthy versions of themselves probably don't hang out in their bed in their bedroom all day. But that's sure. Like that might be part of it too. But yeah, I've had the thought before of like, I'm glad that Ethan is a living room person, because there's part of my brain that's like, okay, we literally pay to have an apartment that like has a nice living room. Like,
yes,
you do use it. Like he uses it all the time.
I don't remember where I saw this, but I have read before that there are areas in a home that become extremely expensive because they're so underutilized.
Like a dining room for like at a house.
Yeah. Yes. And so they become a waste of space, but you're still paying for it.
Right.
And so like when you take your rent and then like, I don't know, that like my wedding, like my wedding dress that I will wear one time is an extremely expensive dress. But if I bought, I don't know, like my favorite pair of shoes at the same price, but I wore them every single day for 5 years, they would be cheaper.
They'd be free basically.
Yeah. And that's what your home does too. And so I have intentionally started using my office more because that was one of the least, well, our dining room is probably the least utilized place, but my office was personally my most underutilized space in this house because there was just like never a real need to use it.
especially like not being in school anymore.
Yeah.
And like doing homework or, you know.
Right. Yeah, it definitely would be much different if I did, but I only work from home every so often. And like before that we had this project started, I had very little reason to be up here. And so I started like doing all of my craft stuff up here, started like really intentionally using this space because it was like getting expensive.
Yeah.
Like, why are we paying for all of these extra rooms if we're not going to use them?
Yeah.
So yes, I completely understand what you mean by like, thank goodness we have different preferences because we pay
like
for
if
the
it was
space
just
anyway.
being completely unused, I'd be like, okay, well, why do we even have a living room?
Right.
But so let's talk about our dream homes.
Okay.
And I'm not talking dream homes as in like a castle in Scotland with like, I'm talking like kind of realistic, like hopefully something we can have one day. How do you feel about like renting versus owning, where in the nation or a different country, if that's what you're wanting to do? Like what size house, what kind of interior and exterior decor do you like? Give me the deal, the layout, how many stories, what do you want? What's your dream in 10, 20 years?
Yeah, I like the idea of having a basement, a main floor, and a second floor.
Okay.
That's what we had. We technically had one more level in my, like, the house that my parents owned, but it was split level. And so we had a basement, and then like the living room only took up half of the space, and then the kitchen kind of like is up a level and it takes up the back half of the house. Versus like here, my office is directly above the living room. So you're like utilizing both areas, but our house wasn't built that way. And then my parents had like a bedroom that was on its own level. Anyway, I would like this house 1,000 times more if it had a basement and a garage. So I think, I don't know if I'll want 3 or 4 bedrooms. It almost sounds like, I think talking about this just kind of sounds like gluttonous almost.
Gotcha.
But obviously a bedroom for us.
That's interesting. That talking about your hypothetical dream house feels gluttonous to you.
Yeah, I think it comes from a place,
because I don't have that reaction.
Well, it's just like, I think that I'm so conscious of like what I am using, what I am consuming, what I am asking for, all those things, to where me saying my theoretical 3-person family wants 4 bedrooms seems silly. It seems, just more than you need. Yeah, so I would like to have our bedroom, our kids' bedroom, an office, or some sort of like usable room, and then a guest bedroom, because I always thought that that would be really cool. When I was growing up, we did not. We had a 3-bedroom house for a 3-bedroom family. And so we had one extra room, and it was an office, kind of an office. And then we had a treadmill in there.
Love it.
It was
multifunctional.
It was the 2000s. What can you do? And I always thought like all my friends who had spare bedrooms, it was always cool because then when you stayed the night, you like had a whole room and you weren't just like sleeping on.
You were like
floor.
staying in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah. And I just think that it would be nice because our house is not very conducive to guests. But anyway, so probably 3 to 4 bedrooms depending. And then the basement.
You want to own it because you seem like a project person.
Yes,
like you would love to customize things in your house and not have to ask anybody permission.
Right. I do go back and forth because I know the amount of responsibility of owning a home is like insane. And there's arguments. People say, of course, they've been saying for years and years that renting is more expensive in the long run because you are throwing your money away, quote unquote. But truthfully, there is absolutely an argument that owning a home is more expensive. It ends up being luck of the draw, which one is going to be more expensive, because most people never pay off their home. Most people move before their home is fully paid off, because most people are on a 30-year mortgage. And so the likelihood that you're actually going to live in the same house for 30 years is relatively low. So that's something to consider, that essentially you were renting the entire time.
Yeah, but then if you sell it, you're like getting the money back that you paid for it.
As long as you're not
ideally
upside down in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you take on a lot more risk. And then, you know, like when our pipes froze, last winter, when that big crazy storm hit, our pipes froze and they burst. And we had a pretty significant like plumbing issue that was probably thousands of dollars to fix. And we made one call to our landlord and it was done. And so I think that there's a lot that you have to consider when you're buying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, in theory, yes, I'm kind of that bitch when it comes to like projects. And I would love to like paint all my kitchen cabinets green and like have matching like wallpaper with greenery on it. And it's like, now everything's gold and it all matches. And like, I love, you know, whatever. I would love to stop hanging things with command hooks.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But so in theory, yeah, I would probably want to buy a 4-bedroom house. Probably not at least 3 bathrooms is what I would prefer, so that the kid has their own and then we have one. Jack and Jill sinks. I'm obsessed. I have to have one. Backyard.
In Kansas City?
Probably. Would be
ideally.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say like I totally want to move really far away, but I think in theory, like my whole family is here. So by the time that I'm purchasing a house, I probably will want to be closer to family over just being in a place that I like. So yeah, theoretically, probably in the Kansas City area. I don't really see myself as a suburbs kind of person.
That was what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So I may be better off doing like, I don't know, like
a house in Kansas City.
Yeah. Like the place that we live in Manhattan is really wonderful. And like, there's not a homeowners association. I swear to fucking God, I will not buy a house under an HOA. There's not a homeowners association. Every house looks different. All the neighbors are nice. Yeah. And I really, really like that. And I think that that's what I would be looking for, is something where I don't mind being this close to my neighbors. Like, I don't need like a sprawling ranch. Like some people want to like move out to the country, and that's just not me. But I definitely, I don't know. I also like that our house is kind of, you get the cozy effect because it's narrow, but it like goes up.
It's really long. Yeah.
So it ends up being spacious, but cozy in kind of a unique way. And I really like that. So I think
your house is very unique. Like your house is different than other houses, like every other house.
Yeah. So I think that I wouldn't mind something similar to that, where it's like, it doesn't need to be gigantic. I think that I'm more just concerned with like number of separate spaces versus like, how big can we find a living room, you know?
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess that would kind of be like my summary, is just enough space to kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Just comfortably exist. Everybody can comfortably exist in their own space if that's what we want to breathe. Yes.
Yeah, I get that. What you're saying about not minding being close to your neighbors, I'm pretty much like the same as everything you said, other than that, and extra bedrooms. So I strategically and intentionally don't want a guest bedroom in my house so that people can't stay with me. So if there's people coming from out of town, I'm not expected to host people.
Sure.
Because I have an extra bedroom. that makes me sound like a bitch, but it's true.
No.
So that's what I want. I also, oh my gosh, this sounds awful and I hate it, but like I want a basement because I want Ethan to have a man cave. And I hate that term and gross, but like
that's what we had in my house growing up, and it worked.
Yeah, I love it. Like I want a basement and then just one story above that to where like it would look like a ranch style house. I'm not for all the thing, but Ethan would not want, he'd want a 3-story house, but or 2-story or whatever. But yeah, I'm very like, I kind of like to have things look the way I want them to look, and sometimes his big computer setup and all that. I'm just like, you can have the entire basement, do whatever you want. I don't care. Maybe have something down there that I'm like wanting, but like that can be your space, do whatever you want. And that's very much separated of like, if you're going to be loud and doing stuff down here, it's on a different level. Like I like the idea of having different level spaces. I don't really know as much about the location. Like, I don't know. Ethan wants to move somewhere like farther away, but I kind of like being in Kansas City. I don't really know about that, but I want to have a house. Like my dad, he's lived in a lot of houses, but one of the ones he lived at, I loved because it was not like a suburb house to where your neighbors are right next to each other, but it wasn't like lived in the country. It was like they were just spread out a lot more, in the sense of, I just love the idea of sitting on your front porch or whatever, and like there's no one around you. Like no one can hear you. Like you can hang out in your backyard and your neighbors can't hear everything you're saying. Like that level of privacy where like you aren't right next to people, but not like enough to where I'm like, I'm not like a country person. But like a little bit of space would be like, that would be my ideal, is not being like on top of your neighbors. And I think that comes down to my being so sensitive to noise thing. It's like I want to not even hear other people existing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing I wanted to talk about that I've just have, I don't know, found really interesting is when I'm talking about I like things to kind of look the way I want them to look. I feel like that's been something going on with, how do I want to phrase this? I mean, there's always been pressure of having your house look nice, or what style is in, or what appliances, all that kind of stuff you need that look nice. I want these countertops. Basically, my life will be better if I have these countertops. You know what I mean? That's like the idea. But I feel like with TikTok and like Instagram and all that stuff, and maybe the algorithm is just like this to me, but so much of what I see is about showing off the aesthetic of things, the word aesthetic on everything. And I know we've had a conversation before briefly about the importance of how I think things, feel versus how they look. And the example of like, I wouldn't put it past some people and myself to like sit on 2 couches. One is nicer than the other in comfort. One is way more comfy, but it's like, I don't really like the look of it. And this one's like, it's okay, but I love the color. Like it matches the aesthetic I want better. And like getting that one. And it's like, that is ridiculous when I think about it, but I'm like, oh no, I would make that decision. So that's something I think about with the future is, I mean, and there's definitely a place for getting stuff that makes you happy and feel good in your home, because you don't want to be around something that like, I don't know. I just want things that are colorful. I like things that are fun. I like silly, like eclectic things. Like I wouldn't care about that. But I myself, and I feel like a lot of other people need to take a step back from this obsession with things being aesthetically pleasing. Like, it doesn't fucking matter that much. Like, get a couch that is comfortable. I don't know. I just feel like there's such an emphasis on things looking aesthetically pleasing and having a perfect vibe. And it's like, what is that about? I don't know. That just seems so stressful. When I have a home, I just want to not have my head so much in that space. that I'm viewing my home of like, okay, if someone comes over, this is the vision I want them to see of it, rather than just like what do I want to live in every day.
Yeah. I
Thoughts
think
on
that
that?
that's something that we keep in mind, and I think
I'm bad at that, so that's why I'm saying all this.
our goofy little built-in shelves has really helped break us of being so worried about it, because we just have cute, interesting shit on those shelves, and there's no rhyme or reason. There is no like vibe. It's just stuff that is cool.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, just every time we see like a pillow at the store that we think is just cool, we just get it. And I think part of it is that we don't have the exact same like aesthetic preferences. And so if we can just find something that's neat that we both like, then you might as well just go for that.
Yeah.
And I think that the most that we've ever tried to do is color like theme, but I don't think that we've ever been super focused on aesthetics, which is nice. And I think
that's so nice. I've just gotten
very
brainwashed on a TikTok rabbit hole of like everything in my life needs to look good for other people.
Yeah,
from other people's lens.
Yeah, I think that I care about how it looks, but I care that I think it's cool. Like, I don't necessarily care that other people think it looks good, but I do want it to look good by my standard. So I don't know. I mean, there's a balance, of course. Like,
that's what I mean. Is the
is
balance
like,
for sure.
Yeah,
like
nobody's
not to
house is just full of comfortable.
Right.
But yeah, no, we have never been the type to be aesthetically pleasing, which is funny because I don't know. I have always thought that your home is very like clean. Your space, your space always looks clean. It never looks cluttered, which is something that every time I go to well, to be fair, I haven't been to your new place. But
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
When I was at your old place, I was always like, we should clean more. Like we should get rid of some of this crap that we have, just so that it like looks less full, because your apartment never came across as like full. And I feel like our space often looks very full. But I think that I've come around a lot lately in just like, first of all, I think minimalism sucks. And I think if, not literally, but like if you are a minimalist, like you're boring and you have bad taste.
Sure.
And again, not in like a serious way, but I just think it's like, it's more fun, you know? Like I have
stuff is fun.
Yeah, I have like rocks,
color and plants and little
like
knick-knack random things. Like, yeah, it's fun.
I completely agree.
Like, do I need this?
Right. Well,
no,
yes.
But you gave it to me.
Yeah.
And I love, you know what I mean? Like, it's just fun to have little random, like, I love it. I love being surrounded by random little cute stuff that's just cool. But yeah, that's the non-clutter thing is something I am intentional and mindful of, because I'm very much, as I've made so clear in this podcast, impacted by my environment. And if I'm surrounded by things where I'm like, I don't like that, or like I don't use that or whatever, it just makes me feel like anxious. So I like having stuff, but I need to like the stuff that I have. Like, sure. I don't have stuff just to have stuff.
Yeah.
I try to be mindful of that is not in terms of clothes. I will buy anything I see on Amazon that I'm like, that looks kind of cute. So I'm not, I don't know, I'm not like a minimalist at all, but I understand the idea of I don't like owning things that I'm like, I don't use that, I don't look at it, I don't do anything with it. I don't like things taking up space that don't need to, because I like to feel like things are spacious and can breathe, basically. But I love color. I love like fun stuff. I think fun stuff is just I don't know, but I also am all about cozy. Like I want fuzzy blankets. I want a cozy feeling house, but I feel like it's different too when you have have a family or have kids.
Yeah.
Because picture like a like a nice cool upscale apartment in the city or something, and how you would kind of decorate
Right.
or what's the word I'm looking for? Furnish that.
Yeah.
Versus if you have a family, like you want a couch that's big and fluffy and you can jump on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that makes a big difference too, is even just where you are in your life. Or like we have a dog, like I'm never gonna get furniture that if the dog gets it messy, it's like gonna look awful. Because
Right.
very much a sidebar, maybe this is a hot take, I don't know. If you have a dog and you don't let your dog on your furniture or your bed at all or anything, I don't trust you at all. That's the
Yeah.
craziest thing in the world to me. So
Yeah.
like I will strategically buy things or blankets or furniture, pillows with color that I'm like, if my dog gets hair on it or whatever, like I don't care. Like I'm not going to have anything in my house ever that if it gets ruined, I'm going to be like really upset.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's just not me. But
and mindful of like the money that you're spending on it. Because we certainly could have gotten a better couch, but it was kind of like, well, we got a black couch, we have a black dog. Like,
yeah,
if the dog has accidents on the couch, you won't even be able to see it. If the dog hair is on the couch, you can't see it. If the dog breaks it or bites into it or tears the stuffing out, it's fine. We can replace it. It wasn't like a $5,000 couch. It's fine.
Right.
And so I think that we're mindful of that. And same with like the rugs that we buy and stuff that like she's going to be on all the time. We are very much considerate of her when we get that kind of thing.
Yeah. So like it'd be the same, I feel like, when you have kids, that it's like,
oh,
I mean, yeah, this one's cuter, but like this is more comfortable and functional. So like I don't really care as much about what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is this might be a hot take too. I don't really believe in making your kids aesthetically pleasing.
Oh my God.
That's like a huge thing on TikTok right now. And I have a feeling that you'll agree with me, but I'll be interested to see what you say. Let babies be babies. Yeah, yeah. Where it's like my house right now, it would still be equally as cute if it was full of plastic Fisher-Price toys. Like it wouldn't, it would not throw the vibe off here at all because it's just full of stuff that we like. So if there were, and currently there are little dog toys.
Yeah. That's how mine is too.
Scattered all over the place. There's a couple of bones, I think, scattered around too. Just stuff she's half eaten and spit out.
Right.
And I think that that's a lot
and that's
more
a
fun.
Happy home. That's a reflection of a happy home that's lived in and enjoyed and full of love. And that's the way I see it. Like, but yeah, I that could be a whole other thing. But when I see TikToks of, and this is not judging like parenting, but when I see TikToks where it feels like the whole point of the TikTok is to show how minimalist and my baby only has wooden Montessori toys and everything's color neutral and my baby only wears tan and like pastel colors and all this, I'm like, that's fun and that's cool. And I mean, when they're a baby, like they don't really know the difference. So I guess that's different than like if they're a toddler and they're like, I just want like a Disney princess comforter. Like, can I just have that? Like, why does this have to be tan?
Right.
Like maybe that's different, but yeah, with that and clothes and stuff, like, oh, I love seeing baby stuff that's just babies. Oh, like let them be little, you know what I mean? Like big, all kinds of farm animal or zoo animal stuff that doesn't match at all. Or
when I was a kid,
different patterns. Like
there's a picture of me in a t-shirt with like cupcakes on it. I was little. It could have been a onesie, but it's like some kind of cupcakes and then a big cupcake hat that was like really soft. And my mom was like, I don't know, like cupcakes are good. I'm sure that you liked it. Like, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I just, like,
it's adorable.
That's way more fun. Like that picture is so much more fun to look at, me in this goofy cupcake hat, than like me in basically adult clothes. Like that sucks. That's lame.
Or like, it has to be all tan, or like perfectly sage green and like mustard yellow, like matching aesthetic, making your baby look like an aesthetic. And obviously you're going to get cute outfits for your baby. And it's probably a 5-second TikTok. I just mean when I see people post pictures of their nursery sometimes.
Yeah.
And the toys are in, I'm like, that looks so fucking boring. And like, that looks like it's your style rather than like it's a room for a baby.
Right.
But again, I doubt it looks like that all the time. It's just when it's like, I don't know, people are excited about decorating stuff and they want to show it off, obviously. But yeah, that's something I see and think about too, is like my baby's going to have the most random fun stuff, and maybe it'll like, I don't know, I'm not going with like the only theme I would have would be like animal stuff, like any animal print, anything. Not like animal print, but like animals on it would be like, I'm all about that for babies. So fun. But yeah, a messy home is a happy home. I just want to have a big cozy house. But yeah, I just feel like your living spaces can be crucially impactful to people. And maybe to some people, they're like, what are you talking about? Like boys in college, when I'd go to the like 3 frat parties I went to, and you see them living there, and it's like, I cannot even conceptualize how people are okay living in that kind of thing. But so like, again, some people it doesn't matter, and they're like, why is it a big deal at all? But like the girls who get it, and it greatly impacts my emotions in my life and how I feel about my life. And I think you're kind of the same way, maybe not as extreme, but
no, I don't think so.
And having different experiences though is good, because like then like having unideal situations also makes what you have so much more, like the house you have now. If you moved there straight after freshman year, you would like not enjoy it as much as you do. Like you would not be as happy.
1,000% more appreciative.
So I think that's like makes a big difference too. Is like when we move to a place where we have a bigger space to where we're not always hearing each other, it's going to be like insane. Like when we didn't have a laundry unit in our apartment we were in for like 3 years. And now that I have a washer and dryer, we've lived here for like 2 months, 2 or 3 months ish. And every time I do laundry, I still am like, oh my God, like this is crazy. It's the best feeling ever. So I think with living stuff, that's makes things a lot better too, is to have new things or better things to glow up. Because if you get your dream house right away, then you're not even really going to probably be that happy with it for very long. So but any other thoughts on living situations, homes, past, present, future?
I don't think so. I think that you're right. I think that's a good, like, insightful place to wrap it up of like, even if it's tough, like figure out what you can learn and take away from this and how you can apply that knowledge moving forward. You know, if it's these types of roommates don't work for me, or no roommates work for me, or we need this type of space, or we need less space, or whatever it could be. I think just trying to figure out, how can I make this a learning experience, and remembering that it's not permanent. Like, better options will come your way. Even if you are stuck where you are for the time being.
And also, like, do what works for you. I mean, this can be applied in a million things. But in terms of like your living situation in your homes, there are, you might have grown up in a house or been in an environment where this is the way people did it and they were happy doing that. But like, you don't have to do the same thing. You don't have to mold yourself to be happy with what people do most of the time, or convince yourself that you want this even though deep down you really don't. Like what makes you happy in your living space might be so odd to some people, or so different, or they might not understand. But like, you know what works for you. Like, stick with that, rather than like when I did something I knew I wasn't going to be happy with and then was like shocked when I was unhappy with it. Like, I don't know, listen to yourself. I don't know. Everyone's different. It's so silly to think that something like the same living situation would make everyone happy and would like impact everyone the same way. So just, I don't know, you better than anyone else will. So
yeah,
do what works for you and be patient, because it fucking sucks sometimes. But yeah, like you said, it's not permanent, and hopefully you can apply your bad experiences and do something that you're going to be more grateful than you even knew. I never knew you could be so grateful to do laundry in your apartment.
Very true.
Yeah, but all right. Do you know what we're talking about next week?
I don't.
Or it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Week after week, it's a surprise.
Yep. Morning of, it's a surprise. Yeah. But anyways, okay. Well, have a good week. Love you. Bye, honey.
Okay, bye, honey.